I so enjoyed this film. But of course, the minute I finished watching it, I had to Google Punch and Judy because, of course, I know about them and, you know, and what they represented and everything. But man, your movie really brought a lot to the forefront that I had really forgotten about. That actually really horrified me because I forgot how violent they were. So Mirrah, let's start with you because I wanted to know what kind of started this journey for you to kind of tackle it in this way.
Well, the project kind of came to me by Vice in America. Those guys wanted to make a live action Punch and Judy movie, and understandably they wanted to kind of look at it through a different lens, through a contemporary lens, and this idea that this very violent puppet show for children had it lasted for such a long time and existed throughout generations. And so they asked me if I was interested in writing it, and I kind of did a pretty deep dive into a whole bunch of research around Punch and Judy because I wasn't that familiar with it. I was aware of it, but not that familiar. And then kind of landed on this idea of creating a fictionalized origin story, essentially, setting it mid-17th century, but for it to be a sort of strange world-building exercise, you know, almost sort of fantasy in its nature, and for it to be very loose with its historical accuracy. That was the kind of intention. Yeah,
because you did hit on a lot of points, that things that did happen, and it was very interesting. After, like I say, after I looked it up, I was like, wow, she really got a lot of little things, intricacies in there. Damon, for you, I have to ask you, what draws you to these creepy characters? I gotta know.
Well,
you play an asshole really well.
I tell you, whatever drew me to them has dissipated a little bit. I'm kind of moving into nicer guys for a while now because I've played so many horrible people for a while. Look, well, a couple of things. Sometimes they are the best roles. There's no doubt about it.
Nice and juicy.
I think,
yeah,
and also I think because Americans and you know, North America people in North America wouldn't really know this so much, but my career in Australia before I started going to the US was playing lots of nice guys and nerds, and I couldn't even get auditions for nasty people. So there's always been a kind of a feeling of, you know, I'll show them how horrible I can be. So I've really enjoyed getting to play these amazing bad guys, but I've probably reached peak bad guy now, I think.
Yeah. Well, this one, honestly, like I thought Charlie Manson was going to be like the top of your game. Holy mackerel, Punch. Listen, I had so many anxiety moments watching this. I'm a mom, and I have to just say 2 words to the both of you. Baby and dog. Discuss. Like, how difficult was it to do that? Like, oh my God. I honestly almost had to look away. I was so nervous as to what you were going to do. So
that's all on Mirrah. That's all on Mirrah. I didn't write this thing.
Yeah, no, it's true. It is all on me. I tell you what, though, Danny Cooper, our editor, had her work cut out for her making those sequences work because it's true what they say about working with animals and babies. It's tricky. It's tricky. That was some of our toughest days on set. I mean, she's done an amazing job of making it look seamless, but it's never seamless when you're working with dogs and babies. It was it's slow.
Yeah, I can just imagine. Well, yeah, that was, I mean, there's a lot of anxiety watching this film, and that was for me, that scene was just like, okay, can I watch now? You know, it was awesome, brilliant. Damon, tell me a little bit about working with Mia. She is such a wonderful actress. You two were great together, you know, even though there's that tension and you know, but just tell me a little bit about working with her.
Oh, it was lovely. We knew each other a little beforehand, and she's just a beautiful human being, apart from a beautiful actor. It was a real treat, and I think it was just it was just a really nice dynamic having someone like Mia who just grounds everything that she does. It's such an honest, truthful performance, which really works and is really necessary, I think, in this film because there are so many crazy characters around her. It gives the audience the opportunity to kind of see the world of Seaside through her eyes. And if it wasn't such an honest performance from the actor playing Judy, you wouldn't achieve that. And I think she just does it brilliantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved working with her.
Yeah, your heart just goes out to her the entire time. There's no question about it. Mirrah, for you, how did you know these two were going to work well together?
Oh, I just had a feeling. I mean, I know and love both of them. They're such different actors, but I think there's something about that combination of what Damon brings to Punch and like you're saying, Damon, what Mia is able to do in grounding Judy. It just sort of works. And I also feel incredibly lucky that I got to kind of work with two people that are just good humans, that are fun to work with and good to be with. And, I think that's it's not always the case. And so, the vibe on set was always like pretty joyful, very unprecious, and very kind of, we all got in there and got it done. And there was something really kind of lovely about that. There's very little kind of hierarchy when you're working with actors like Damon and Mia. It's very kind of it's very pleasant.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can imagine you guys work so well together. I want to ask you guys about there's so much to think about after watching this film, and one thing that struck me, aside from the violence and how it was so accepted that when people watched the Punch and Judy shows but the other thing that got me was the mob mentality and how quickly people are just easy to jump in, whether it's about stoning or whatever it is. That you bring up some really interesting, thought-provoking scenes in here. And, sadly, we can relate as to what's going on in our society right now. People just jump on that bandwagon or go to social media and they're cowards. And, Mirrah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm really glad that it made you think about that in a contemporary perspective, because it's absolutely kind of what was striking to me as I was writing. I kind of found all of these contemporary parallels, and I was like, oh God, we haven't evolved at all, have we? It's sort of like, maybe we've devolved a bit like these puppets, what started out as these beautiful marionettes and now these kind of clunky sock hand puppets. I mean, it's like this sort of devolution. So I was fascinated by that, but I also wanted to have a sense of this idea of community, which I think always is particularly in times like now, is able to cut through with a really kind of positive and beautiful sort of message. And that's what I tried to create in the Heretics Camp, this sense of, even though we can be so kind of quick to cast someone out socially, I think when people come together, especially when outcasts come together and form sort of a healthy community, that's something to aspire to. So I was often struck by the contemporary parallels, and would be writing dialogue for a character like, say, the town mayor, Mr. Franklin, and suddenly thinking, oh, this is like feels incredibly politically pertinent to kind of some current day dictators. And isn't this interesting how language can kind of can travel, and that mentality can travel through generations. So it's important. It's very nice for me to hear that it has a sort of contemporary resonance for people. So while it is all fun and silly and absurd, I hope that some of those themes are coming through.
Oh, absolutely. Damon, do you think you'd ever want to be a puppeteer?
Well, certainly not one with marionettes as heavy as these ones. The very brief amount of puppeteering that Mia and I had to do was very difficult. I mean, the actual puppets you see performing are not us. That's actual professionals. But there are lots of shots of us at the top, holding the puppets from above. And damn, those things are really heavy. It's really, really hard.
They look they were heavy.
We marionettes, I think, traditionally are quite sort of small for that reason. And of course, not being a puppeteer, I was like, I think the puppets need to be really big, like 1 meter tall, and like really kind of. And so we built the puppet, but I wasn't the poor person that had to kind of puppeteer them. The puppeteers were like this is incredibly difficult. You could never maintain this for the duration of a show. It's something that didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah. Well, listen, congratulations on this movie. It's really, really good. You guys did such a great job. And Damon, I'm so glad to hear that from here on in, we're gonna see you play some nice guys. I do have to say,
a couple of years.
Okay. I mean, you do bad really, really well. And I do have to say that scene in Mindhunter, the interrogation scene, I can't get it out of my head. You know, I know everyone talks about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and you were spectacular, but Mindhunter, you frickin' blew me away. So anyway, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You guys, thank you for your time, and best of luck, and just stay healthy and safe. Thank you so much.
You too, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.